And here we go. Just so you know, this is my third time trying to make this video, so if I go too fast, I apologize. So on problem number 1, the main idea here is we need to factor each piece and then cross out what we can, which leaves us with this. In case you have forgotten how to factor with a leading coefficient, I did both of those up here. So I need two things that multiply to -2, which comes from 2 times -1. And they add up to -1, which comes from the middle term. When I find those two numbers, they go here. -2 and 1 were my two numbers. So I split that middle term and I keep the first and last. Then I do a GCF of each pair. And then I write my solution, thus 2x plus 1 outside, x minus 1 inside. I did the second one here. My two numbers were -10 and 1. Those are the ones that multiply to -10, but add up to -9. So I split that, and then I take a GCF of each piece, and then I write my solution. For the second one, the main idea here was that difference of cubes. So the rule, in case you have forgotten, we take the cube root of each piece, so I get x minus 2. And then as I write it here, I do the first one times itself, then I do them both times each other, then I do the last one times itself. And the signs, remember, we copy the sign the first time, and then here opposite, always in positive. After that, it's just a matter of crossing off what they have in common and simplifying. All right, number 3, the main idea here is to remember that you have to flip and multiply when you have a divide. So I did this and I flipped and multiplied. It's all factored. So this is a difference of squares, +3 and -3. And then this here with the leading coefficient is factored. Thought I worked it out, but I didn't. Okay, so I crossed out what they have in common, and there's my simplest form. All right, number 4, I had to take a bunch of tries on, so it's on the second page. For some reason, I had a lot of trouble with it. I factored all these pieces here, and then before I got my common denominator, I went ahead and simplified what I could. So that leaves me 2x minus 5. Now it already has a common denominator, and I can just add. Remember, we keep that denominator when we're adding with a common denominator. The level of problems on your exam should be much easier than the ones on this study guide. This study guide was made to prepare you for the chapter test, which is a lot more in-depth than the exam is, and the exam is also all multiple choice. The main idea on this multiplication one, we got the difference of squares, and we factor again, and then we just cross off what they have in common. So really it was to help you practice that difference of squares and some factoring trinomials one more time. Number 6 was a subtraction problem, so we need a common denominator, but we already have it. So the thing you were trying to aim for here to not forget is that when you're doing this, you're really doing, it said, it didn't have the parentheses on the paper, but we need to remember that the minus goes all the way through so that we get our sign correct right there. Number 7, we can just divide each individual bit. So I did 8x to the third divided by 2x, 6x to the second divided by 2x, and -12x divided by 2x. There is not any long division on your exam. There was in the chapter, and it doesn't hurt you to practice one, but there won't be any on the exam. So this is the one that caught you. Don't get stressed by that.